You're listening to Women's Media Center Live with Robin Morgan.
Welcome to Women's Media Center Live. I'm Robin Morgan. At least I think I'm still Robin Morgan, because after 4 years of near hermitude during the pandemic, though I did get a lot of writing done happily, and after sterilization procedures galore because I simply could not afford getting COVID given that I have COPD due to my having been once an absolutely asinine smoker. Well, here we are 4 years later, and of course you guessed it, I got COVID. Fortunately, I had my booster shots, and I've kept good discipline, though I did slip now and then on masking, damn it. So I don't really know why or how or when it came into my arena, but here it is. Again, fortunately, because I've had all my vaccinations and kept discipline, it's nowhere near as serious as it may have been for someone in my condition. After all, my beloved friend, Lois Sasson, died of COVID in 2020, before the vaccines came in. So what I'm left with is a very, very runny nose, a periodic chorus of sneezes, a killer headache, which feels as if my eyes are bulging out, joints aching way beyond their daily wretched arthritis, weird stomachy things, and a cough that makes me sound as if I'm in the final auditions for the lead in La Traviata. All of which in turn means that there's almost no show this week. But wait. This week, my guest, pre-taped happily, is Lucy Lippard, the great feminist art historian, art critic, author, and all-round art maven. She has a new book out called Stuff, with the subtitle identifying it as a kind of memoir. It's witty and charming, and I don't want you to have to wait a whole other week for it. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to skip directly to Lucy and my conversation, and then we're going to have a poem from Harvesting Darkness, because I have a new book out too, and it's going to be in our new Poetry Corner. And we hope that that will sort of satisfy you for an interim week, given that my ratiocinating faculties are really a far cry from anything approaching coherence in writing, or even much in reading for that matter. So I just hope my voice holds out, you can hear it, and the coughing fits hold off. I also hope that's okay with you and with Lucy, who basically gets the show all to herself. Thus, we are going to take a short break now, so we don't interrupt anything to come, and then we'll be right back with a Lucy Lippard conversation.
Subscribe to this program on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a review. Follow us on Twitter at WMC Live, like our Facebook page at facebook.com/WMC Live, and visit us at WMCLive.com for more information about our show and our guests.
You're listening to Women's Media Center Live with Robin Morgan.
Lucy R. Lippard is a contemporary art historian, curator, writer, and activist. As a critic, she's best known for her study of conceptual art in 6 years, The Dematerialization of the Art Object from 1966 to 1972, and for her writing on feminist art and politically engaged art. She has helped form numerous political and cultural groups, including the Ad Hoc Women's Art Committee, the Art Workers Coalition, and her many honors include the Women's Caucus for Art, Lifetime Achievement Awards, and many others. The book is called Stuff, with the subtitle Instead of a Memoir. And it's over 35 years in New York City. It covers her youth, her adulthood, her relationships, the period when she authored hundreds of articles, her founding of the feminist group Heresies and the arts group Pad D. She just goes on and on with many, many, many honors. She is a titan of the women's art movement. It's my great pleasure to welcome Lucy R. Lippard. Welcome to Women's Media Center Live, Lucy Lippard.
Oh, it's good to be here.
It's so wonderful to have you here. I can't figure out how we could have missed each other, or if we've missed each other all these years, because I know you were primarily, of course, and greatly so in the women's arts movement,
Right,
and created it in one sense. But we seem to have assiduously not met all these years, and I feel like I missed out. So that's a great. I'm glad we caught up now.
it's mutual. We must have met at some point, but God knows from an 86-year-old viewpoint, I don't remember anything beyond like the last few days. So.
Yeah. Oh, right. You got it. Yeah. I have a vague nagging memory of a panel at some point, at some time, God knows, lost in the mist of times, of us, an arts panel. And
I'm sure we did.
Yeah, I think we did.
At some point,
I think we did. Anyway, I know that we have, in reading your wonderful book, which I'll get to in a moment, I know that we have a number of people in common. The great late Esther Broner, and of course Judy Chicago, and a number of the other women artists. But to miss Lucy Lippard was to miss the big stuff. The book is called, wondrously enough, Stuff. Instead of a memoir is its subtitle, and I have to tell you, that is such a delightful title for a memoir. It makes me feel that my memoir is, I don't know, stuffy, but it is just insouciant, and it could be called Joyful Clutter. It could be, and it is the most wonderful mélange of your years in New York, your years in New Mexico, your years of travel, your homes, and pictures of your homes, and it's this great celebration. How, after so many books on art, did you come to do this one?
Well, I haven't really. My books have kind of morphed in the last 30 years to have to do with art in relation to life, more and more life. I've done 2 big books on local history here from the Galileo Basin in New Mexico, where I live, and so forth. So, and I've been talking about this book for years and sort of running it by people, and everybody said, "Oh, good idea," and I never got to it until this age when you do tend to look backwards.
I've noticed
and then
that.
Then I had the book launch last night, and I was really a nervous wreck, which I'm usually not for this kind of thing, but because I was talking about myself. I thought, oh my God, I shouldn't be talking about myself. A good old Calvinist upbringing.
I was going to say, and that's also, feminists have to learn to talk about ourselves, because we've been in the closet about our image and ourself and our self-worth for so many years. You better talk about yourself. So you finally put it together. Well, it's a charmer. Even for people who have not an acquaintance with the art world, it just, it rollicks along at this wonderful pace, and its friends and family and other artists, and your activism, your political activism, which was, obviously not only as a member of the populist political artists group known as the Art Workers Coalition, but, of course, most notably in the feminist movement. And that's what I really want to talk about. Talk about those years, Lucy, because they were formative for the movement if they weren't for you.
Oh, they certainly were. The movement came to the art world late. The art world is it has only a few entrances and so on. So I didn't really figure it out until 1970. I was living in Spain for a few months with my son and my little son. And I wrote a very experimental novel, which Esther Broner was kind about.
Uh-huh.
And when I was writing it, I thought, hey, I'm not one of the boys. It just kind of finally dawned on me.
Duh.
So I came back and fell into the Ad Hoc Women Artists Committee, which was Poppy Johnson, Brenda Miller, Faith Ringgold, and me started it. And we protested the Whitney Museum. We did a fake docent tour, which was really fun, and a whole bunch of things. We were present during the entire Whitney annual, which was then an annual. And
the Whitney was so notoriously bad.
Yeah.
But that was decades before the Guerrilla Girls.
Well, it was whatever it was, 1970, and the Guerrilla Girls were 1985.
Right. So it repeated itself. When I became involved in the women's movement, it was because I had been made insane by the men in the left, who were just as
that's exactly from the AWC. That was exactly where we were coming from.
Yeah, precisely. And they were just as bad, if not worse, than the men in the right. And I already knew about the men in the right. But it was... by then, it seemed to me that the women's art movement, part of the women's movement, was already well established. I mean, there were West Coast women. There was the Women's House. There was
all of that was in the 70s, and the women's movement really started earlier than that. So we just finally caught up with it.
Yeah. Late 60s was my beginning. Yeah, my happy contagion with it.
Right.
Now, tell me, I've read that when you took a trip to Argentina, like many feminists of the era, your political motivations were increased, obviously, and it influenced a change in the focus of your criticism from formalist subjects to more feministic ones. Talk about that. Explain that to me, please.
Well, it wasn't just feminine. Let's see, that was in 1968, so I was not a card-carrying feminist yet. But there was a group that, in fact, I apparently got this kind of wrong, because since then it's been corrected by a friend who's written on activism and so on. So my Argentine experience, I reported it slightly wrong. But anyway, I ran into a group called the Rosario Group, and they were working in Tucumán with a big worker strike, and somebody said to me, "Well, we're not going to make art while the world is such a mess," or something to that effect, and that just rang a huge bell, because I hadn't been that political yet, and when I got back from, I fell into the coalition and various other, and I did a show that fall, Vietnam War, student. Activism, mobilization committee, did a show for the benefit of them that was mostly minimal art. I mean, it was abstract art. Mm-hmm. But the artists said that this was the best they could do, best thing they could possibly do to make an anti-war statement, was to give their best work, which I thought was interesting. That was a good bridge between the conceptual and minimal work that I was dealing with mostly, and a lot of the women in my feminist movement were, between that and more solid activism.
Oh, fascinating. Yeah, for the ignoramuses among us, and I have a very smart listening audience, so there aren't many ignoramuses, but in case one or two have just wandered in from a trip to another planet, would you give a bird's eye version of your definition of, well, minimalism I know about, but let's say of formalism and of conceptual art?
Formalism was tended to
sum up 30 years in a few sentences.
Really. Formalism tended to be what I sort of came into when I got into the art world, which was run by Clement Greenberg, who was a major enemy of mine and mutual enemy. And minimalism rejected the Greenbergian formulas for quality with a capital Q. And then conceptualism sort of came out of minimalism, and conceptual art was more interested in ideas and actions than it was in objects. And that looked like it was the beginning of a complete transformation of the art world. And of course, the art world didn't get transformed and swallowed it up and co-opted it and so forth. So anyway, that's more or less.
And where in all of this, while you were organizing exhibitions and authoring articles and being an art critic and an art historian and an art everything else, where did you co-found Heresies, a feminist journal of art and politics? Because that was very influential.
Well, that was all in 76, and that was a whole group of us. We've never really agreed as to who was sitting at the table or which table when. But
this sounds
but
familiar.
Yeah, but we agreed that we wanted to politicize the feminist art more, and most of us were socialists or what's now progressive and so forth. But so we decided there should be a voice and a space, and the voice was Heresies, the publication. The space was a shorter-lived feminist art institute, I think it was called, and Miriam Shapiro was kind of the force behind that.
Yes.
But the magazine really sort of got more attention. I think was much more effective, frankly.
Well, it also goes places where you can't. You can't just have so many panels and present yourself in so many places. But books and magazines can, infiltrate in wonderful ways, and get into the nooks and crannies. No, Heresies was very important. I remember Heresies and have mourned it in the the major moments, the watersheds of women's art history, contemporary women's art history. Also, you were a close friend. I didn't realize it until this book. So many things I didn't realize till this book. A close friend of Ana Mendieta.
Yes.
Let's tell her story, because I met her only once, but I was a very close friend of a close friend of hers, Isel Rivero, another expat Cuban who'd managed to escape by the skin of her teeth from Cuba. And she, her death, Anna's, was both untimely and raised many feminist eyebrows. You tell that story. Yeah.
Certainly did. Well, I met Anna in Iowa City, where she had been. She didn't escape from. Well, her father had been working with the CIA or something. I once had his trial transcript from Cuba, and that was why her mother and the two girls left. But
wow.
I lent the transcript to somebody, and it never came back, and it's gone forever. I've never, which is just maddening.
Yeah.
But anyway, I was always lending things to people I was trusted people, and not always a good idea.
No, that one, big mistake.
But I met Anna, and I was giving a lecture in Iowa, and she cornered me at the reception and told me her whole life story. And we became friends, and then she came to New York, and then we were good friends there. And the story I tell in the book, which is particularly, I don't know, weird, she was very involved in Abacua and Condoble and various Cuban religions, whatever belief systems.
Right.
Anyway, when she went to Rome for her thing at the Roman Academy, she stopped by my house and with a shopping bag and said, "Here, I want you to keep this. It's the my revolutionary soul." And it was this thing that's in the book. It's just a pot with a hammer and sickle painted in red, a black pot with hammer and sickle that she painted in red on it. And I thought, so I had it over my desk, and at one point it suddenly emitted a little puff of smoke. She had worked with gunpowder, so I thought that was what she must have kept it in there or something. I moved it off my desk, and then I asked her afterwards, and she said, "Oh no, I never kept gunpowder in that," and she was looking very sly. I mean, so it was just some kind of spiritual emanation. So.
What her death?
And I still have that because she never took it back, and then she died. So
she was a very fine artist, and when she married Carl Andre in '85, it was only a few months after which they had this what sounded like a drunken argument.
It was a terrible idea, that marriage, but I knew both of them quite well, and I was rolling my eyes at that point, but.
And it sounded like a drunken argument, and all we know is that she fell or was pushed
exactly
from the window of their 33rd floor apartment. And you bravely, you didn't have to testify, but you did make it clear to the police that she was not suicidal.
Yeah, to the DA. Luckily I was in Boulder, Colorado at that point, and I didn't have to go to the trial. Yeah. But I did tell the DA over the phone she was not suicidal. So, but who knows? They both drank too much, and I don't know what happened. mean, I mourn her, and I stopped speaking to Carl after a while. I wanted him to be innocent until proved guilty, but then it just didn't work that well.
No,
So,
you wrote in the book, Andre was acquitted, but the case remains a thorn in feminist flesh. And Mendieta is often remembered at demonstrations to this day. Her art has become much in demand ever since, but she is not around to enjoy that. Oh, it's just heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Well, tell me, what you think. I mean, I don't know how you can sum this up. Maybe you can't. But what marks do you think feminism has left on art, visual art or sculpture, or in other words, representational art?
Well, I've always said that feminist art is nothing to do with a style or a movement or anything. It's a way of life, an ideology, and so on. And so I think it's been kind of amazing to watch the burgeoning of incredible imagery and so on by younger women who often don't even call themselves feminists. I have a thing with young women who come up to me and say, "Oh, I'm not a feminist. I don't call myself a feminist, but I'm a strong woman and I stand up for myself." And
that's the I'm no feminist, but
yeah, and then I say, well, a feminist stands up not for themselves, just for themselves, but for all women, and that always sort of surprises them.
Yeah.
Anyway, but Michal Hebron, I think California artist, has done something wonderful called a gallery tally, where she's kept track of women in galleries and the numbers and so on, like the Guerrilla Girls did. And it hasn't changed that much. It seems like it has, because I must say that, when I'm out of the art world to a large extent now, but when I look at these art sites and so on, there are a tremendous number of women. And amazing, and women of color especially.
Yes.
That was something we were not particularly good at the beginning. And
we have a museum, the National Museum of Women in the Arts.
Yeah. Which is not the most avant-garde museum in the world.
No, it certainly isn't. I nonetheless became a founding member because it had women and arts in it. I mean,
exactly.
We haven't made the strides that we naively thought we might, but I suppose there are some strides still that we have.
There are a lot of strides. I mean, it has made a huge difference, I think, in just the possibilities, which the doors were closed when we started, and now they're open, but not everybody gets through. So.
Well, it's up to us who can get through to hold them open and keep them open for those who have so far are not able to get through. And to do that more and more and more, Well, you have done your part, my dear, with stuff, which is hilarious and warm. There's mugs of tea or coffee on the cover, along with books, of course. And
I just took that photograph of my partner and I, a guy. We're sitting on the couch, and
it's great.
One Sunday morning, and I just took the picture, and then it kept turning up, and I'm like, can we use that on the cover?
You got it. I mean, and it looks warm and inviting. The mugs look drinkable. The window looks lookable, outable, and the books look readable.
Then there's the packing tape that's sitting on top of the book.
I know.
I don't know what that was about.
I don't either, but it means I'm ready to go on the road or something, or I'm just home from it. Your travels are here, your friends, your families, your brilliance, your art, your analysis, your politics, and stuff, which has a subtitle instead of a memoir. So instead of a memoir, we have this wonderful book from Lucy Lippard, which is called Stuff, and we should rush out, not walk, to our bookstores and get it. Oh, thank you so much. And listen, next time you're East Coast, will you come and see me in my little garden, and we can have coffee or tea with mugs?
Where is your little garden?
In the village, of course, in Greenwich Village. So.
Okay. I'm traveling very little, not because I'm crippled or anything, but I just hate traveling these days. But
I know. I've got to the point. I traveled my life away in the 1980s and 90s, and then I decided to settle down with a thud. So, but if I get out to New Mexico, I will look you up and
do that. Things are much more relaxed when I'm out here. When I go to New York, there's so many people I have to see. I just sort of hide.
I
But
know. I don't
anyway.
blame you. Well, you can always hide in my garden, and nobody will
Thank
bother you. So take care, dear Lucy, and congratulations on the newest book. And may it sell and wave happily from all the rooftops.
Yeah, thank you, Robin.
It's time for another break, but I will return directly with a new poem from Harvesting Darkness, because the show must go on.
The Women's Media Center, founded in 2005 by Jane Fonda, Gloria Steinem, and myself, is a progressive, nonpartisan, nonprofit organization working to make women visible and powerful in media. You can learn more about the WMC at womensmediacenter.com.
You're listening to Women's Media Center Live with Robin Morgan.
Given my promise to read a poem a week from my new book, Harvesting Darkness, it's a book of poems, here is one about art, rather fitting for today's subject. The Last Door. This poem has an epigraph that reads, preparing for her final retrospective at the Whitney Museum in 1970, Georgia O'Keeffe revisited elemental motifs, even as macular degeneration initiated loss of all but her peripheral vision. Between 1952 and 1954, she finished an oil on canvas titled My Last Door. Leave it at the gate before you board, as in an airport when by mistake you packed your Swiss Army knife. Confiscated. No longer can you be ready for anything now. Leave it all behind, bit by bit. You'll have no need of any of it. Now you have peripheral vision only, like prey. Zebras, gazelles, all wear eyes set on the side. Predators' eyes are set straight ahead. You see, though, into corners. Work one color at a time. First, Master Gray. Nothing is less real than realism. Only by selection, emphasis, do we approach the real. You also wrote, the meaning of a word is not as exact as the meaning of a color. Color and shapes make a more definite statement than words. I'd argue with that, except that color, like music, needs no translation. Peering at the world aslant, you pierce directly to the heart of vision. No approximation, no distraction, no illusion. Watching the Te Deum of gray flake toward splendor, you learn patience. What lies in front of you dizzies to a blur until you turn your head sideways to look forward.
And that's our show for this week. You can follow me on social media at The Robin Morgan. You can check out my blog at robinmorgan.net, and you can find my new novel, Parallax, and my just-out new book of poems, Harvesting Darkness, wherever books are sold. Portions of this program were taped earlier. Views expressed here do not necessarily represent the WMC. Here's the family for Women's Media Center Live. Executive producer, as well as founding and sustaining sponsor, Regina K. Scully. WMC president and co-executive producer for this program, Julie Burton. I'm Robin Morgan, your producer and host. Thank you for being with us. Join us next time on Women's Media Center Live.